Welcome everyone to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I am your host, TJ, and with me again, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame in his game because he is always the same. Grumpy. Grumpy.
Hold on. I see your now. I break out the Islanders gear today. I got one of these shirts. It's like 35, 40 years old. I don't know how old it is. Still in great shape. And I see you. I mean, someone compliments your appearance last podcast. Did you feel like you needed to up the ante, so to speak? By, or is this what you wore to work today? I'm just confused.
It's multifaceted, Grump, because that's right. I was a little shocked. I guess I didn't know I dressed like such a slob on the podcast, or someone was like, "Oh, TJ, actually you're dressing up nice. You look good there today." I was like, "Damn, I must look really bad a lot of the time." So I had to wear my Islanders apparel, my Islanders tie. So I just wore my work apparel on the podcast. Look at this. Hold on, Grump. Look at this. Whoa, TJ with the tie. I guess I really dress like a slob is what it must be.
That's right. You're a filthy pig, and that's the way you dress. And I want to tell you what, you have no idea that TJ, when everyone thinks he looked like a slob before, you should have seen what he dressed like before we had video.
Oh my God, Grump. All I'm going to say is the comments right now are gold. We've got Bruce chiming in immediately. We've got David C saying, TJ like a banker today.
Well, he is a banker in his real life. He is a banker.
I'm not a banker, Grump. Alexander saying, TJ dressed for an interview. Yeah, I guess everybody thinks I'm dressed for an interview here today. Fair enough. No, somebody made the comment there last time that I dressed very casually, so I decided to go ahead and step it up here today. So I'm wearing a little my shirt and tie there from work. Oh goodness, grumpy old man. Islanders point streak ends though, Grump, and the win streak ends at the hands of a loss to the Washington Capitals.
Yeah, and honestly, I didn't think we played poorly last night. I mean, the first period, Samsonov kept them in the game. I thought he made a couple of really, really good saves. And then the second period, we have a defensive breakdown, leads to a goal, then a power play goal, and then Mayfield takes a penalty at the end of the second period, goal, 28 seconds in, game over. I mean, yesterday you saw with a team that has talent, and their power play is real good because they have some skilled players on there. And, that's the difference between us and the top end teams in the league, honestly, where you see a team like Washington, who's now well coached with Peter Laviolette, and, so they can play us head up and not make the dumb mistakes they did when Reardon was there. And then they make you pay when you take a penalty because they have the skilled players to do that. Just plain and simple. And that's why I worry about us going forward.
Grump, before we dive too much into it, we have an ad there to read from DraftKings. The tournament is finally here. The brackets have been set, and the teams are ready to hit the court. Tomorrow, I believe, too, Grump. And DraftKings is the leader of one-day fantasy, is celebrating with their largest free college basketball survivor pool ever. How large? $1 million in total prizes up for grabs. And if that's not enough, check this out. When you enter the free DraftKings $1 million survivor pool, you could get a shot at winning $10,000 for every upset through the first 2 rounds of the tournament. It's easy to play. Just pick one team per day. And if they win, you survive and advance to the next round. The last person standing is the winner. Just remember that you can only pick a team once for the entire tournament, so choose wisely. DraftKings is a safe and secure app, and you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Get in on all this week's action. Download DraftKings app now and enter the code THPN during sign-up to enter the free $1 million survivor pool. Again, that is code THPN to enter the DraftKings free $1 million survivor pool. Eligibility restrictions and terms and conditions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. Grumpy old man.
Yeah. I mean, I know we got the tournament coming up. Does anyone really care about it this year? I don't know. It's like college basketball for me didn't even exist. For me, the appeal of college basketball is watching the kids in the stands going crazy, watching upsets, the crowd going wild. And it's just been nothing this year. I haven't even watched college basketball, not even Maybe I watched a half of one game, and I'm like, ugh, this is terrible. I'd rather watch grade Z level hockey than watch that.
Oh gosh, Paul saying dress for an elementary school spring concert. I'm actually the conductor of the band. I'm up there telling them how, the little what are they keep them on rhythm or something. I was never artsy, Grump.
A conductor.
The conductor of the band, or the orchestra, or the I don't know.
Okay,
that's not my strong suit, Grump.
You know what I like? I like the fact that people feel comfortable enough with us to just come out and rip us whenever they want.
I just like, it must mean I really dress unprofessionally on this podcast.
No, that's not true. I mean, but here's the thing. You do look good today. I mean, you make me only look superior just because I am who I am.
Where's your button down, Grump? That's the real question we need to know.
I was actually thinking about wearing something a little bit fancy today, but I didn't. I tell you what, today is Happy St. Patty's Day to everybody.
That it is.
And at 8:00 tonight, so a lot of people are going to miss it. So I set your DVRs. The Quiet Man is on Turner Classic Movies tonight. That is without a doubt one of my favorite movies. John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara, I believe her name is. Victor. Gosh, I'm forgetting all their names. Barry Fitzgerald. I'll tell you what, great movie. And John Wayne was just a movie star's movie star. A man's man, and I watch it every single year. Matter of fact, when this podcast is over, I am going to watch it again because I watch The Quiet Man every single St. Patrick's Day. Fantastic movie. Great.
Well, I'm glad, Grump. It's almost like we have now made it 7 minutes into the podcast talking limited amounts of Islanders hockey when there was quite some news today, Grump. Anders Lee, season-ending injury there, season-ending surgery, albeit there, ACL surgery there. So he will be out the remainder of the year. Definitely not good for the New York Islanders, that is, Grumpy. Oh, Tommy, thanks there. Looking sharp, TJ. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sure with TJ being in control of the comments, he's going to look real good in them today. I'm certain of that. So.
Oh, I'll try to make sure I only show limited amounts there, Grumpy. That being said, though, Anders Lee out there for the remainder of the season, Grump. It almost is a foregone conclusion. Islanders need to make sure that they are going to make a stab and trade for a winger that has top six talent. That's at least my opinion, Grump. I want to hear you weigh in, though, too.
I'll be interested to see if they do. If Kiefer Bellows plays the way he's playing right now, why do you need another winger? But if he's not, because, you could get a jump on re-signing some other players perhaps. But if, you want to pick up somebody, there's only a couple guys out there. I bet they're leaning more towards a one-year rental, where if it was me, I'd be looking for somebody with a little bit more like a Rickard Rakell. He'd be the type of guy that I'm looking for, as opposed to a Taylor Hall or a Kyle Palmieri.
Really?
Yeah, because Rakell is younger than the other two. He got some team control for him. His contract is not exorbitant, and he can produce, next year also.
So here's my thing. This is where you and I differ a little bit, Grump. It really depends. Our farm system is limited and not great to say. It's not deep by any means, grumpy old man. And trading away for a guy that has term is going to cost a significant penny. It really is. If you're trading for a rental, you're going to ideally pay less. And you talk about the cap situation we're in, how we need to be proactive. How does it help the cap situation if you were to trade away, I assume, somebody that's not going to absorb too much of a cap hit and, some prospects in draft capital for a guy who, might have some control there, but is going to add there to that cap when you've got to sign back Pelech as well as Beauvillier and Sorokin this offseason. Well,
that's what you had the offseason for, is to try to dump some of the garbage off of our roster, and there's plenty of that. That's for next year, not for now. You got the expansion draft coming. If you protect the younger players and expose everybody who makes money, they're going to pluck one of them. And that's what I would do. That helps you with your salary cap situation.
Well, Grump, it really depends, right? Because if you're looking at a guy like Rakell, he's on a relatively manageable contract. But can you imagine how expensive his price tag is going to be?
I don't think it's going to be as expensive as you think. I mean, what are you talking about? Maybe a minor league player and a second round pick? I
I'm
mean,
thinking at least a first.
no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, the Ducks are trying to get out from underneath some contracts.
This is
So,
this is this is the crazy and the wacky time period. He's on a very manageable contract for another year on top of this, and he's a guy who's one of the most highly sought after guys around this trade deadline. I would not be shocked at all if he gets at least a first round pick.
yeah, teams have stopped trading first round draft picks for guys.
You say this all the time. It's just not true.
But it is true. It is true.
It's not. Crump,
The only
it's
guys,
not
the only
true.
guys who give away first round draft picks is Lou Lamoriello. He's the only one. Nobody else does it.
No, that's just not right. Grump, people give up a lot. A lot of teams give up first round draft picks every single year at the trade deadline, and that continues to be a trend here to this day. And I think that if you want a top six guy or a guy who can fit into a top six role, you're at least going to have to give up a first round pick. I mean, you're probably going to have to give up a prospect and at least one of those higher picks.
Well, it's not even with our first round draft pick where it's going to be. I mean, do you want another Casper? I mean, we're certainly not going to pick guys like Tomasino, Kaliev, or McMichael. Ding, ding, ding. We're certainly not going to be drafting those guys with our first round pick. So why not pick somebody who's actually can already play in the NHL? We're in win now mode with the age of the team and everything else. We're in win now mode. So, if you're going to sacrifice, I don't think we're going to win, but, our window, I feel, is short with this group of players. So, you might as well go all in. Maybe they could trim Lundqvist and Casper and other pieces of garbage like that.
Well, that's not going to get you number one anything here, Grump. I will tell you this. I do think that we are in win now mode to a certain extent. We do have a young nucleus that is coming up and being injected into the lineup, though, you could say. I mean, Oliver Wahlstrom continuing to perform. Kiefer Bellows hopefully stepping on and emerging into the scene. Noah Dobson. I mean, he's made big strides and leaps this season. And with Sorokin, I mean, you have a really, really young nucleus. I'm not even including Matt Barzal and Anthony Beauvillier into this equation, too. You've got a lot of those young pieces that are going to be and are contributors on your team now. I mean, it's definitely something to be excited about. What I don't want to see happen is us to mortgage off too much of the future here. We have very little organizational depth at the forward group down there in Bridgeport. Defense, we're stacked, no problem at all. Goalie shouldn't be an issue if we got Sorokin and he lives up to what we expect. The forward group in Bridgeport and our forward group is lacking. I mean, you could say, hey, Alex Jeffries has played well so far this season at Merrimack. Of course. William DeFore has come out and played pretty well there this season in juniors. There's nobody I'm saying, oh, wow, I cannot wait for this forward in our system right now. There just isn't.
Yeah, well, maybe they can trade Matt Barzal for some piece of garbage because, he only sits on the bench when he plays for us and he takes a 2-minute penalty and he sits on the bench for half a period. So obviously we don't think much of him. So, maybe that's who we should deal.
I know you're trying to annex us into, I'm sure, another point there. Matt Barzal got benched last night. It was in the third period. And I've seen a lot. I made a semi-controversial post about it. Just totaling up over the last 20 games what penalty minutes looked like. Again, it's important to note, I know not all penalty minutes are the same. Nobody's that facetious. All penalties are different. That being said, I think he's made a real conscious effort to try to tone back the amount of penalties he was taking. I mean, the last 20 games, he's only had 4 minor penalties and 8 penalty minutes. So, I mean, when you compare that to some of the other team leaders there, I mean, Scott Mayfield, over the last 20 games, he's got game misconduct there and 6 minor penalties, 22 penalty minutes. Adam Pellick, 6 minor penalties, 12 penalty minutes. Anders Lee, 4 minor penalty minutes, or 4 minor penalties, 8 penalty minutes. My thing is, not everything is the same. It's not all apples to apples. It's just something important to look at there. That's all I'm saying. I think he's made a conscious effort to try to tone back how many irresponsible penalties he was taking. Look at the high stickings that he had earlier on in the season. I mean, he had a lot of frustration penalties earlier on in the season, and I think he's really done a good job and a conscious effort of trying to tone that back.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to know why he's taking those retaliatory penalties? Because the other teams are just going after him all night, and they were doing it again last night. And none of the gutless pukes on our team do anything to stand up for him. Nothing. You know why he takes those penalties, Armadillo? He takes them because your team is ballless. That's why he does that, because no one else sticks up for him out there. So he has to go out there and stick up for himself. I could care less that he took a 2-minute penalty. That's not why we lost the game. And to bench a guy like that, like I said, if I was him, I never would have signed an extension year. ever. I would have went somewhere else because it's the favoritism crap that the Armadillo shows. And for every time that he takes a penalty, they call him out in the press every single time. What about Mayfield's penalty yesterday, right? Right, it's a frustration penalty. He can't take that. All right, is that why you lost the game? No, it's not why you lost the game. But then you have at the end of the period, panic goads Mayfield into taking a 2-minute penalty, and it leads to a power play goal that makes it 3-0, game over, right? And then you got Bush.
You were jumping here, Grump. You're getting on a roll and you're jumping. You said Mayfield there twice. I think the first bit you were talking, referencing there, Matt Barzal's penalty. Then you were talking about Scott Mayfield's. But I understand the point there. And again, I understand.
I just want to finish my point. You got Butch, who I knew as soon as Barzal took that penalty, he was going to attack him for it, and he did. And then he makes an excuse for Mayfield doing the same thing at the end of the period, retaliating when he was goaded into a penalty. And then they score 28 seconds in the third period, right? And it's like, well, that penalty's okay. No, if they're all okay, call everybody out. You just don't single out a certain guy. And that's the one thing that the Armadillo does. And Butch, his toady, is following suit. They do the same thing. I tell you, it's not – if all you have to do is pay attention, that's the biggest thing. If you pay attention, you see how they operate there. And it sickens me, honestly.
I can see strokes of what you're saying very loosely. I'm not a big fan of how Butch – again, I love Butch. He's forgotten more hockey knowledge than I could know. So it's important always to preface statements like that. But I mean, like, he definitely pushes the agenda. Anytime, a young guy makes a mistake, he does the same exact complaining. Oh, young, inexperienced, blah, blah, blah. I've shared my opinions as to why I think he does that. That being said, though, yeah, I thought he kind of flopped anyway. I'm not sure who it was on the Washington Capitals. Kind of got cross-checked in the back. It's funny. It's like his feet died out from underneath him. I'm like, come on, that's not what happens. You're reaching out. Hold on. You're reaching out. You're trying to go ahead and impede them, and you get hit from behind. You just kind of fall. It's the same exact thing people do in soccer. When you get somebody on the back of them, the legs fall out and collapse from underneath them. So again, like, I understand it, right? I mean, Kuznetsov cross-checks, two-hand cross-checks Barzal in the back, in the lower portion of the back, and breaks his stick on it. Again, there was a lot of holding of the stick there before. They were just going back and forth. And it was unfortunate that he happened to get called on that because, I mean, there was a lot of back and forth yesterday during that game.
Yeah, my problem is Butch, though, where he says –
So it's not so much Barry, it's more Butch.
Oh, no, Barry's a moron. Barry's a moron. Benching the best player on your team because he takes a 2-minute penalty? You got to be kidding me, right? How about benching the guys like that useless Bailey and his lackadaisical, just non-existent. He is the absolute definition of a passenger. That's what he is. Does he ever get benched? Or how about the way we treat Leo Komarov, right? When he took that 5-minute major penalty in the game that he single-handedly lost for us. How long did he get benched? 23 seconds before he's out there to not cover his man and give up a goal? And what does he do? He kisses his ass after the game. Oh, well, those things happen, this, that, and the other thing. Leo Komarov's a piece of freaking garbage. I don't care that he's your age. I could care less. He's a piece of garbage. He should never even be on the ice. And you make excuses for him, but we're going to punish the best player of our team, sit him 8 minutes. How does that help your team come back, Barry, to try to win a game when you sit your best player for 8 minutes? Why don't you just pull the team off the ice and say, we forfeit, Matt Barzal took a penalty, we give up for the rest of the night? Because that's what it says. Like I said, I'm just sickened by it. And then I see Butch when he's making excuses for Mayfield. And here's the thing. If you want to make excuses for everybody, go ahead. I realize you are the Islander homer, but don't come out and rip your best player and then cover up for somebody else who does a retaliatory penalty. Well, he had him around in a headlock. What do you expect? Well, the other guy was cross-checked in the back. He was hooked all night and held all night and interfered with, and the refs don't call anything. So he gets pissed off, and he goes and takes a retaliatory penalty, and all of a sudden you're going to bury the kid? Hey, Barry, how about putting somebody tough out in the lineup who's not going to let that go on? How about putting Ross Johnston in the lineup and sitting that useless piece of garbage Bailey who does nothing? At least Johnston, no one would pick on Barzal if Johnston was playing with them. I'm telling you that right now.
Did you get it all out, Grump?
No.
I was about to say, for those of you who listen, watch, I made sure to tell Grump, even before we started, I said, we're going to barely touch on Matt Barzal benching. We're going to mention it. There's no need to spend too much time on it. There isn't. And here we go.
That is
here we
true.
go, Grump.
That is true. TJ did say that, but I just ignored him because I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyway. I don't care what it says.
Oh, goodness gracious.
If he was Barry Trotz, I'd be on the bench. The MVP of this podcast would be on the bench for 18 minutes, and let's see TJ carry it.
I think I could handle Grump. That being said, again, I'm never a big fan. I wasn't personally a big fan of the benching. I mean, it is what it is. I think he's done a conscious effort to try to avoid those silly penalties. He makes one mistake, takes a silly penalty. It was his first penalty minute in quite some time, too. It was his first penalty in quite some time, and immediately to the bench. Again, like I think it had more to do with like where they were in the game than the actual penalty itself because of where we were. I mean, like we were relatively close. He takes that penalty. We gave up a goal on that penalty, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we gave up a goal.
Okay, I got it. He takes that penalty. And then we go down 2-0, and he goes back out there. Mayfield takes a penalty. We're down 3-0. I think it was more of just like a frustration of we're in a close and contested game. And again, I'm trying to play devil's advocate, trying to understand where Barry Trotz is coming from.
Okay.
Hold on, stop.
Hold on.
You just went on a huge monologue and tirade. Let me finish my point.
Hold on. Did Mayfield get benched?
Are you going to listen?
Did Mayfield get benched?
Grump, no. I'm literally listen.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm trying to bring up a point for a reason. Okay, I'm trying to play Barry Trotz's role here and what he's thinking. So now I got to reestablish momentum. Thank you very much, Grump, for interrupting. Well, go ahead. You lost the train of thought. Go ahead, Grump. Go ahead.
You're trying to make an excuse for Barry Trotz.
I'm not here to make an excuse. I'm trying to play devil's advocate.
You're trying to play devil's advocate, and you're going to make an excuse for why he did it. Well, here's the thing.
I'm trying to play up the thought process that he has.
Well, I don't think he thinks from 1 minute to the next because Mayfield does the same exact thing and he doesn't get benched. That's the problem. That is the problem in a nutshell. You bench one guy and you don't bench another guy. That is the problem. There is no excuse. If you're going to bench one guy for taking a bad penalty, then you got to bench the other guy for taking a bad penalty. Not just one and not the other. And it's always, every single time, Barzal. Every single time. That's the thing that drives me crazy. Best player of the team is the guy you bench. Well, you got pieces of garbage masquerading as players on this team who nothing happens to them for poor play. Not even taking a penalty. Just the fact that they can't play the game sufficiently, they never get benched. Those are the type of things that drive me insane.
Well, good. Hopefully you got all of it out. I'm going to reestablish my point. Barry Trotz, where we were in the game, we were down a goal. He takes that penalty. And again, I'm trying to understand from his point of view. He's a star of the team, the guy who you want to be the leader, the guy who you're grooming for that position, I assume and think. And he takes that penalty. They score immediately thereafter. And then, again, the same exact thing happens with Scott Mayfield. The damage had already been done, I think, is what he's thinking in his mind. And they look at the penalty. Man, oh, man, it wasn't needed. We're in the offensive zone. That's what I'm trying to portray. And, again, I understand. All penalties are the same when it gets down to the brass tacks because you end up in the box for 2 minutes, no matter what you do. Whether you're back there on an odd man rush and you get caught holding a person because you're not in good position, you make a bad read, the puck bounces over your stick. I mean, there are different reasons to have a penalty. In the end, though, grumpy old man, it all results in the same thing. So I understand that point. I've never been a big fan of ripping a certain player or benching a certain player, but I'm trying to sit from his point of view to play devil's advocate. That's probably what he was thinking. Not a huge fan of benching the best player on your team when you're down 2 goals, or what at that time period was 3 goals when you need to generate offense. That's usually not a great idea, in my opinion.
Look at the players who he benches when he does bench players. Who are they? They're all under 25. Every single one of them.
That's not true.
And an absolute. Tell me the last time one of his little favorites got benched.
Okay, if you stop, I will.
Tell me.
Casey Zizekas, Nick Leddy were benched earlier on this year for poor play, and they benched again. Like they weren't benched for 8 minutes; they were benched a shift or two. He's benched players that aren't young. I'm just saying he usually has certain players he likes to bench with a higher propensity. I get that, but he has benched other players. You can't say never. It's just not accurate.
Did he call them out after the game like he did Barzal, which he does every single? No. See, that's the problem.
Hold on.
You cannot treat players differently like that. You cannot rip players in the press, some guys, and press conferences, and not other guys. And then you see your little favorites like Komarov, who's a living disaster out there on the ice, single-handedly lost your game, and you promote him to the second line the next game. That's unacceptable as far as I'm concerned. Totally unacceptable.
Okay. I'm going to try to get a few points in before you run me over again. The thing is here, being serious. The thing is, the media asks specific questions about that. He benches them for certain. You talk about the media. The media is not asking questions like, oh, why'd you bench Casey Zizekas? When he did, he said it was because of poor shift or something like that. He addresses it. The only reason it gets blown up, to be honest here, to be, be honest and be just, is because it's Matt Barzal. It's the best player on the team. So it's always going to get the eyes on it. I mean, like he's the fish in the bubble. Everything he's the goldfish in the little bubble there in the goldfish tank. Everything's magnified with him. With the other guys, not so much. He is the face of the team. I mean, Anders Lee, sure, the captain, but Matt Barzal is known as the best player on the team, so it kind of gets blown up and magnified when it happens. So when you're wondering about those responses to the media, not a big fan. I mean, like, what was he going to say? No, I didn't bench him. Come on, you sat him for 8 minutes and 37 seconds, whatever the hell it was.
Okay, and then to be honest, he did mention that he had a bad shift after the penalty, which he did. But all you have to do is look out there most of the game and look at how many guys have bad shift after bad shift, and nothing happens to them.
See, that's a completely different point. I don't mind supporting you on, and I agree with that. How many guys have bad shift and bad game after bad game, and there's no retribution, or there's no, hey, you know what, we're going to give XYZ a try because you have performed poorly over the last few games. That does not happen under Barry Trotz, unless you're a select member of the team. That I will agree with. And
Trotz did say that at the press conference. He said the penalty, and then he had a bad shift after that. So, and that's what led to the benching. I'm like, you know what? Does it help your team win when your best player is benched for 8 minutes in the third period? Does it help your team win? I'm going to say no.
Scott L., we're getting back to some comments here. Bumpy, are you waiting for Lou to call so he can tell you now who you're going to trade for? Because he did say that he will make a deal for someone.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what he does. I heard that the grumpy old man was on the block, but
the grumpy old man is on the block. I can confirm that. Podcast-wise, he is on the block. We're actively searching.
Right, but Edmonton said Connor McDavid is not available, so the grumpy old man will be here for a while yet. I mean, you hear the usual cast of characters, the Taylor Halls, mostly rentals. All right, they're looking for rentals. I myself would not look for a rental. I'm looking to improve the team long term. And make the money work on the back end. But you hear the same cast characters, like I said, Taylor Hall, Raquel, who has a little bit of term, or Kyle Palmieri, who, I don't know. I just never liked him. I mean, he scores goals. He's okay. But, I mean, do you really want to trade for a rental? I don't know.
We'll get to that later. I do want to make one point here. I'm actively shopping the grumpy old man. I was trying to get in touch with Don Cherry because we needed a new grumpy old man. He unfortunately said this time period he's weighing his options. He doesn't think it's the best there for the team. But we've been actively looking for another grumpy old man. Don Cherry was the first contacted, so we came up a little short there, Grump.
That's why he's wearing the tie.
That's what I'm trying to do. If I had an extravagant suit, I'd put it on. I'm trying to pay homage to Don Cherry. I'm saying, Don, look at this. We could both wear ties. We could both wear suits on the podcast. So, joking, of course, there, grumpy old man. You talk about the difference between a rental and a permanent. I have no issue with a rental for this specific reason. Unless you're planning on really making moves this offseason, I mean really making moves this offseason and kind of change the dynamics of the team, the rental, I think, is the best option. I usually am anti-rental all the way. I think the rental makes sense this year just because Anders Lee is out. He's injured. I think it makes it easier cap-wise. I think it makes it easier to trade for a piece, too. If you can get a rental that's relatively cheap that you feel is a fringe top six, but Barry has identified him as this is a perfect fit in our system, I think that would be beneficial for us as opposed to trying to sign or trying to trade for a guy who has term. If you're trading for a guy who has term, you're talking about at least you're giving up a first and extra. I really think that's the case.
Yeah, I don't think so. I just think the markets are all going to be depressed because every team is trying to get out from underneath the salary cap with it being flat for the next couple of years. So if they can move salary to help their cap situation, you can pay less. I mean, that's just the way it is. And in recent years, you haven't seen a whole lot of first round picks going like you did 5-10 years ago. Then everyone was giving away first round picks like they were candy, but that's not the case. And it has been the case for the last couple of years. So I mean, like I said, I would much rather, if I'm looking for someone, I'd rather have someone who could potentially play on the team long term and make us good next year as well.
You're going to make me have to pull this up mid-podcast to show you. I mean, maybe it's not as much as it was 5 or 10 years ago, but it's not uncommon for a plethora of first-round picks to be traded. I mean, with the cap staying flat, relatively speaking, and everybody being against the ceiling, having those players that do have a manageable cap hit will be more valuable. So it will be interesting to see what happens with that. Vinny Smith here gives us the updates every single game as to what Josh Bailey, your favorite player, Grumpy Old Man, has been doing and his production on the power play. He always happens to mention, I think it's one power play goal in the last 160 games or some astronomical stat like that. Vinny Smith says, what are the odds that they give Bailey the C?
They're not giving anybody the C. They'll just run with alternating captains. That's all they'll do. They're not going to take the C away from average. They'll just Bailey. Ugh, boy, Barth is that's exactly what I would do.
Here's my question. Number one, I don't want you to throw average on that. You call him captain or captain average. I mean, come on now. He's in recovery. Come on. I want to see you support him a little bit here, Grump.
ACL, right?
Yeah,
average,
ACL.
Captain Lee. So there you go. Or an ACL. Average Captain Lee. There you go.
You're just going to call him ACL now, and that's going to be your little entendre?
AC Terry, whatever.
Seal Terry. Yeah,
Seal Terry. There you go. What was that movie? I forget.
The Benchwarmers or something like that.
No, it wasn't Benchwarmers. It was something else.
It was a long time ago. I'm just reading here through the. Oh, this is casual. This is the casual dress podcast. That it is for sure. Usually we are in sports attire. Needless to say, there. Oh, Matthew, TJ looking snazzy. I do appreciate it. Scott L was saying once again. Oh gosh, I'm just getting through the comments. I'm not going to rehash things because I don't want to go back down this road, Grump. If we can avoid it, that'd be nice.
But no, what Scott is exactly right. And like I said, if you did,
you have to read it for people who aren't listening. So let me read it here before you jump too much into it. Scott L says,
I'll read it. Once again, Barry benched Barzal for about 8 minutes last night and nobody else. He needs to stop focusing it on Barzy because he's not the only one taking bad penalties. And he's 100% right. Now, here's the thing. If you benched everyone from taking the bad penalties, you wouldn't be able to ice a team, right? But when it's the same guy every time, those are the things that drive me crazy. And if you are, like I mentioned on the last podcast, if you're going to rip somebody for bad play to the press, if you do that with everybody, even though I don't believe in it, I'm fine with it because you're not showing favoritism. But when you see other guys who aren't as near as important to the team as Matt Barzal, and you don't rip them, but you rip him, I just think it just sends the wrong message. And I'm going to say one thing else about Matt Barzal. He'll never be as big a star, and it's not important that you're a big star, but if he played for another team in the league, this kid would be an absolute superstar, where he's not going to be that here. And like I said, part of the reason is we don't get the respect that we deserve as a team, being the Islanders number one, and number two, just the style that we play, because the kid's just a tremendous talent.
Well, I mean, it's a whole different can of worms,
it is,
to be quite frank.
I just wanted to throw it in there just because I felt like it. I'm sticking up for my boy Barzy. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, goodness gracious, Grumpy Old Man. Oh, goodness. David C. saying, impressed that Grump can figure out the DVR.
I'm really freaking good at the DVR, man. Matter of fact, I got to get a new remote because I like the fast forward button. I kind of worn it out a little bit and it's getting a little finicky on me. I'm like, I got to get a new one.
Oh, goodness. Tommy B saying, TG, you're dressed up like that coach for the Rangers tonight. Is that Johnny Rara or is it the new coach? Because Johnny Rara has found his way on the COVID list.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that because
the assistant coach, and I think like all the other coach, they had to call the guy up from, I think it was the Hartford, the AHL affiliate. They had to call the AHL affiliate head coach up there.
I'm going to tell you what, that's probably bad news for Johnny Rara, college coach, because you're going to see the Rangers probably improve with the coach from Hartford there.
It certainly can't go down, right?
No. Well, Buffalo's coach got fired today. We knew that was going to happen. But when you have a name like Ralph, how long do you expect to keep a job?
just to pull that up, and again, I'm just taking a glance at it. In 2020, 5 first-round picks were traded there at the trade deadline. And again, I haven't had a chance there to pull all the numbers yet, but in 2025, first-round picks. So it's not uncommon, and quite a few second-round picks, might I add. But 5 first-round picks were traded there.
It used to be more. It used to be more is my point.
Okay. Well, it's still not uncommon. That's all I'm going to say here.
But but here's the thing: you don't do it in context because you don't know if it was guys who had term on their deal, who the players were, or anything like that.
I'm assuming everything is the same. Again, I'm just saying how many first round picks were traded there in 2020. And again, we'll look up more there as the podcast continues. Paul D saying NHL on Sirius commenting on how Hall played with Eberle in the Edmonton days. That is right. Hall did used to play there with Eberle, so you figure he might have a little bit of that, gel and a little bit of that continuity there as a line that might work out there. So, could you imagine Taylor Hall there in a line with Eberle and Barzal?
My issue is he's gonna have to subjugate his game to play defense. It's not about scoring with this team. We don't really seem to care about it too much. So, when you're benching Barzal, obviously we don't care if we score. So, but you're going to have to play defense. And is he willing to subjugate his game? He certainly didn't have to do that in Edmonton. I don't know if he did in Jersey. And I haven't watched. I mean, Buffalo's a tire fire this year, and he played the half a year with Arizona, and I don't think they're a great defensive team. So, does he fit? And that was one thing that Lamoriello said. He's like, they have to fit with what we have in the room. We have good chemistry in the room. You know what? Beer league teams have really good chemistry too. You're trying to win a Stanley Cup. So give me some talent. Give me some talent, please.
I think you bring up an interesting point. It will be interesting to see where Hall is traded if he comes to the Islanders, if he's willing to sell out and commit to play defense. That's always the biggest question behind him. The winning percentages, as I've mentioned plenty of times there before, have never been great wherever Taylor Hall goes, whether you draw that up to a pure coincidence or whether you think he might be part of the problem. I'll leave that up to your decision making, but it is there. There is a trend there. If he's willing to come back, and I will say this much. We thought the same exact thing about Jordan Eberle, though, too, that he wouldn't come back and play defense, that he would be a guy that strictly wants to play offense and that he would not subjugate his game to playing the Barry Trotz style. And we were all pleasantly surprised. I know myself and you, Grumpy, were very pleasantly surprised with how much he was willing to sacrifice the offensive continuity there for more defensive structure and focus.
Yeah, but think about it, right? He struggled mightily the first half of the season when Barry Trotz was first there offensively. He really did until he understood, what was required of him to play for the Islanders. So, we had 26 games left and then playoffs.
Or I think it's like 25, something like that.
Okay. But the whole thing is we don't have a half a season for somebody to get acclimated. I mean, you almost have to hit the ground running. So it has to be somebody. I think it could probably be Palmieri. I mean, he's been there forever, and I think they've kind of played. I'm not sure if Lamoriello was still there or what their style was. Like I said, I don't really follow the Devils as much as I should, but I could see it be him, honestly, because he's the last guy I'd want. So that's probably the guy they'd go for. Oh, hold on. I see the fire hydrant came out. What's going on with that, Sunshine?
We've got some stickers there to pimp out the fire hydrant there with some Islanders apparel, Grump. We're Islandering it all of the way today. We're doubling down on the Islanders. What can I say, Grumpy old man?
Okay, that's good. I do want to mention a couple of positives, or a positive from last time. I think Oliver Wahlstrom has just been fantastic. He scored a goal. It wasn't a great goal. It was a deflection goal. But just his movement out on the ice and how much he's improved, even like in the last 2 weeks. I mean, the kid's going to be really good for us. And, thank goodness. Give him more minutes, please. Nice to see Pajot come back. You saw a difference in Wahlstrom's game with Pajot out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing that I also noticed. Nice job by Kiefer Bellows driving that net there and drawing a penalty.
Yeah.
So, again, like the young guys, and that's what I say. Like, even though you can get very, very negative and critical, Grumpy old man, a lot of the time, and you talk about the makeup and the composed and how the team is composed, I think they have done a nice job this year where I've been critical in the past of them not integrating the younger players. I think they've done a nice job this year integrating those young players. Noah Dobson's been integrated well. I think Oliver Wallstrom's been integrated well. I think Kiefer Bellows was not integrated all that well, in my personal opinion. But I think they've done a good job of starting to integrate some of that youth into the lineup. That is always exciting to see. And I'll say this much. I know the next portion of the schedule gets tough. It gets tough. I mean, 17 of our next 20 games are against playoff caliber teams. And I use that with air quotes for people listening. I think only 3 games that we play in the next 20 game stretch are against the Rangers. Everything else is either against the Penguins, the Flyers, the Bruins, or the Capitals.
The Capitals a bad match for us, and I thought we played them well. Boston right now is really struggling. I hate the Flyers, so everyone knows.
Here's the thing.
I don't think the Flyers are playing spectacularly either right now. I mean, I think we can play. I think we're better than the Flyers, honestly, just as long as it doesn't go to overtime. But I mean, Boston's not playing well right now. Pittsburgh's picked it up a little bit, but we've shown we can play with them. Washington's the one team that I'm worrying about right now. I feel actually like we're going to do okay over the stretch. I do.
Do you wonder if Boston's over the hump now?
I think they've had a trend. They're a one-line team. Remember, they lost Krug, Chara. Those are 2 big losses off the D end, and then they've had a boatload of injuries on the back end. Somebody else just got hurt last night, or 2 nights ago. I'm not quite sure who it was, but that's good news for us playing them next week for certain. So, that's all. And we've seen to have the Indian sign on them, so to speak. So hopefully next week we can continue that up in Boston.
Yeah. Now I will say I think was it all of our games that we've played against the Bruins so far have been at home, or is it 3 of the 4 games?
No, all been at home.
Okay. And again, our home record is outstanding. One of the best home teams in the NHL. So I mean, Fort Never Lose for certain, in full swing in effect there, the Coliseum. So it's going to be interesting to see here as we're starting to pick up the level of competition. There are very few of those cakewalk. I'm using, again, air quotes, cakewalk games like you'd have against the Devils or the Sabres or even the Rangers at times. So you don't see too many of those here in the remaining schedule. It's going to be the meat and the potatoes portion of the schedule. We got a few comments here. Phil's Fax is saying, use the opportunity there to add in a cap dump there regarding a trade and add something more to get the Ducks to take Leo. I'm talking about Raquel.
That's fine. Just real quick, I just want to touch base on you talking about the incorporation of the young players. You've seen Dobson take a huge jump, Wallstrom take a huge jump. I mean, we all know that Bellows wasn't going to play except for the injury, but he's ready to play. And I think Aho has looked good in the back also. I mean, I've not been disappointed in his play. Okay, makes a little mistake here and there, but we really don't lose a whole lot with him back there. I think Andy Green has slipped. I think this is it for Andy Green, and Aho can certainly step in. Moving forward, I feel.
I don't think Andy Green's coming back after this contract. That's for certain. It's fun. Hell, I mean, how old is Andy Green, grumpy old man? Was he 38, 39 years old? I can't remember off the top of my head.
38.
Unfortunately, Father Time never loses.
He's a young pup compared to me.
A lot of people are. Tommy B is saying Frank Kaplan has been hired as our primary scout in China.
Well, I'm sure he was working under the Charles Wang regime when he wanted to look for sumo wrestlers to play goal.
Robert Conti says Grenlin at $3.75 million. Mikael Grenlin there. So again, he's another guy who's never really panned out to what his potential was. He had a few good years there in Minnesota.
The whole thing is you have up to $7 million, right, that you can spend. If you can get a better player without having to give up a whole lot, why not go for that instead? Especially if it's a rental.
Well, yeah, and the thing is that's the most important portion. And this kind of brings back to the overarching point. Rental is going to cost us less. And for a team that really is depleted when it comes down to forward depth in the minors, I don't think we can afford to be giving up hand over fist draft capital after draft capital after draft capital. Remember, we didn't have a first round pick last year, right, Grump? Or the year before?
Or a second round pick. They both went for Pajot. The year before we did. Well, it's like we didn't really. We drafted Holmstrom in the first round, even though he was a second round, third round talent. But yeah, I mean, we actually did have a pick in that round. We just picked the wrong guy.
When you see teams that consistently give up first and second round picks, those teams are always at the pinnacle. And the thing is, those are your Pittsburgh Penguins back when Crosby was killing. I mean, I bet you the Penguins still probably give up a first round pick. Teams that have those finite windows. So I wouldn't be hugely upset if we give up a first round pick. I really wouldn't. That being said, I mean, if we're going to give up a first round pick, I want to see us really go all in. I have no problem at all with us going all in. I really don't. And this is my point. I think the Islanders, the goaltending is there. And Varlamov has been excellent so far this year. Sorokin he's not what everybody had expected. People, I think, had a little too high of expectations for him immediately jumping. I did. For certain, I did. Yeah. I'll point out, I did have higher expectations than I probably should have from him stepping into the league like this. The defense is solid. The offense is there in ebbs and flows. But my thing is, if you can get something like a speedy left wing who can add some of that true sniping ability, I think that really does help out. Because, I mean, Kiefer Bellows could stand in front of the net. He's, your physical power forward S-type player. Not as good as Anders Lee, for certain. You'll take a step down in that department. But adding something that you don't have, adding another one of those speed demons there on the corner who can go ahead and shoot, I mean, that would be hugely important, I think. Again, you have to be willing to sell out to play defense, though.
I think we're one sniper away from being real contenders. I mean, even with Wahlstrom, I still think we're a sniper away from being a real contender.
Yeah, and we got some more comments here. Phil Fax saying, yep, Brady Shea got traded for a first last year. For certain he did. David C saying, wouldn't mind you guys doing a pre and post game plus the intermissions. Wouldn't switch off of MSG plus. Wouldn't switch off of the MSG plus if that was the case. Yeah. I'm just reading here through. Oh yeah, Kapanen got traded there for a first. Yeah, Grumpin again. Like, there's a lot more first than you thought that originally got traded. People are resounding. The comments are, please, hell no, I don't want Taylor Hall. Seeing a lot of those there.
His stock is as low as it can be. But you never know how he would play with somebody like Barzal, honestly. I mean, he can skate. And, Barzal, I mean, I don't know. That might be a good fit, but would he play enough defense? I mean, wouldn't that be Trotz like to have Lou trade for Hall, and then he's like, well, he's scoring too many goals. He did take one penalty in 6 games. We got to bench him for a while.
Stop. We got some more comments. Gods25 says, why is he called the grumpy old man? That's very mean of you. Grump, I think that is a self-proclaimed title that you gave yourself, is it not? Or did I give it to you? I really don't remember.
You did not give it to me. I thought when we first started doing this podcast, I said I wanted a different name. I don't want to just go by my name. I said, you know what? I'm grumpy. I mean, I do. When I watch these games and things don't go well, I get grumpy. So I'm like the grumpy old man. I just thought it was perfect. And remember, everything we do here is fun. I mean, honestly, it might seem that we're fighting, but we're not. We're just like 2 fans in the stands, except we're not drinking beer. Could you imagine that? No, sorry. Could not do a podcast drunk. No,
you already stumble over your words enough there, Grump.
For certain I do. So, that's not.
We'll just start feeding Butch some alcohol up there. My, oh my, would we be in for a treat? I don't know what would happen if Butch drank on the job. Whew.
Maybe he is.
He'd have to be doing it on a consistent night because there's no change. He's consistently butchering names. I don't think there's ever a night where I'm like, damn, Butch, that was a hell of a performance by you. Not one name was pronounced incorrectly. So I don't think we're ever going to.
Butch has looked a little rough the last couple of games, though. I wonder if there's something wrong with him.
I like Butch.
A little under the weather. I'm not saying I don't.
Hopefully, it's just a seasonal allergies or something like that.
Yeah, he's kind of old. He looks like maybe he's got a cold or something. He just looks like something's wrong with him a little bit. Just looks a little different. That's all.
David C says, trade proposal. Casper and AJ's hair for Raquel. Thoughts, Grump?
Well, I think we should get Gibson back, too, from them. I mean, You're trading AJ's hair. That's a lot to trade. That's all I got to say.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of hair comments, and we can trade locks of hair. So, can we trade a lock of Frank's hair for a haul? The hair is very valuable here in the Islanders community. I'll tell you that much. That's what it seems like.
I'm going to say the people who are wanting to trade hair, probably bald, because I'd be willing to trade for hair myself. And Frank, I mean, he's got the best hair on the podcast, without better than mine and yours put together, TJ. The fact that he could grow it that long and it not look bad, I mean, come on. I know he uses conditioner more than AJ certainly uses.
Oh, goodness gracious. Alexander saying, can Grumpy coach the Islanders team? No.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't want to rip Barry as a coach because, seriously, without him, we're not where we are with the talent level that we have. He gets the most out of these players that can be had. Last year in the playoffs, no coach could have got more out of that team that Barry Trotz did. It's just some of the little things he does, and he's done this throughout his career, the way the young guys really have to earn their dues and then some before he trusts them. But he lets the old guys get away with stuff that now, here's the thing. Do you think he'd ever bench Ovi for taking a bad penalty? Ovechkin when he was there? I'm telling you, he never did. Because Ovechkin was undisciplined, totally undisciplined, and he still is to a certain extent.
Ovechkin's untouchable.
But here's the thing. He's the best player. Do you think they'd bench him? They would have run him out of the building if they had benched him. I mean, that's the difference. Ovi was an established vet. There was no way he was ever going to bench him. But he benched Burkowski, Verana. He sat all those young guys and punished them, but he doesn't punish the vets. I just don't like that. If you're going to punish one guy, you got to punish everybody. I just think it's a bad precedent set. And I think that's been established throughout his career. The young guys don't get the same amount of rope as the old guys. And when the old guys are finished, he continues to ride them, a.k.a. Leo Komarov when he's finished, or Josh Bailey, who never even started in his career.
Jim P. is saying, I'm hearing the Rangers need a coaching staff there, Grump.
If I was coaching them, the Islanders would be guaranteed to make the playoffs.
If you were coaching the Rangers, yeah, I'm sure the Islanders would be guaranteed.
I'd make sure I throw every game we played the
Islanders. Tommy B saying, I was happy with the effort even after falling down 3-0. They played hard the entire way. For certain they did. I will tell you one thing that kind of did grind my gears a little bit. It wasn't the reason we lost. Washington, man, oh man, were they flopping a little bit yesterday. And again, they're really stretching the rule book. Again, it wasn't the reason we lost, so I'm not complaining about it, but it's just one of those things where I watch it, I'm like, ugh, that type of stuff pisses me off as a fan.
Butch did make a good point yesterday where the interference is creeping back into the game a little bit, and you're seeing it year after year. Where there were a couple plays right out in the open. Barzal is just being hooked and held and interfered with and no call. And he's looking at the referees, and the referees, they're staring at the sky. I don't know what they're doing. They're like Hannah, the referee in Youngblood, finally had to give a penalty shot to Youngblood to win the game. But, other than that, he's looking up in the skies. And, that's the way these officials are nowadays. I mean, I don't believe, first of all, in the little touch fouls, but if they're on the books and
penalties,
you're going to call them. Yeah, whatever they are.
You always call them fouls, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
You understand what I'm saying. But in answer to Tommy's question, they did play hard, and I didn't think they played poorly. The first goal was the fact that Jarnac overskated where he was his position. I mean, that's why Oshie touched that puck in. I mean, Varlamov got faked out of his jock strap. The guy hits the post, and Jarnac just skates right past the goal. I mean, he's supposed to stop at the goal line in front of the net. He skates past, and Oshie just comes and pops it in. So that's a mistake, a couple of mistakes. Varlamov doing who the heck knows what he's doing out there, and then Jarnac overskating a position. You're down 1-0 because we certainly deserved. And the first period, I'm going to say it again, Samsonov kept them in the game. There were like 3 or 4 shots. It's like, wow, those are big, big saves. And if we score a couple of goals, maybe the game's different.
Samsonov had an excellent, first period. That's for certain. I will tell you one thing we got to see yesterday. We got to see the antithesis of a perfect trigger man. Alexander Ovechkin, holy shit. I mean, the guy is probably arguably the best pure goal scorer that the sport has ever seen, or right up there. I mean, if he's not the best, he's number 2 all time. And it makes you just kind of shake your head and like, man, oh man, I wonder what our power play would look like with one of those, with one of those pure goal scorers. I know Oliver Wahlstrom is stepping into the role. He's nowhere near where his potential, where he could be at the end of his career. But it just makes you think to yourself, I'm like, man, we were rolling Ryan Pulock in that position for like the first 20 games of the season and no goals. He walks away with no goals after playing the trigger man on the first power play unit.
For years I told you what was the problem with the Islanders power play? Talent. We don't have enough talent on there. And you see Wahlstrom on there, we're able to score some goals. You're right about Ovechkin. He circles in that one little area. That shot he took, he was outside the dot and really down low, but the quickness and speed of the passes. I mean, that's what you have Backstrom out there or Kuznetsov. Those passes are going. They're really shooting that puck back and forth. You don't see that on the Islander power plays. When you got Bailey on one side, Leddy at the top, they just floating it back and forth, like, hey, we're at a Sunday picnic, fellas. Let's just have fun out here. Just look at the pace. And then I watched Tampa Bay last night, and I haven't watched a whole lot of them this season.
Because it depresses you?
No, my God, they're good. They are really good. And you just see the guys they're fantastic. I'm going to tell you right now, they're winning the cup again. They're good. They're really good. And the way they move the puck on the power play, Hedman, you don't think of him as a goal scorer, and I don't think he scored last night, but just his command at the top and just the pace of the power play. And that's something we don't have. When we pass with pace, our power play is much more effective. But usually we defend ourselves. You got Bailey out there. He's not shooting. La, la, la. Da, da, da.
I want to interrupt. You said Victor Hedman is not a scorer, or you don't think him as a scorer. I will tell you this much. How many goals did he score against us last year in the Eastern Conference Finals? I feel like it was like 3 or 4 goals in that short span of 6 games.
Yeah, but you don't think of him as a scorer. And
I do.
Guess who was in the trigger point for them last night? Stamkos. And he had scored a goal similar to what Ovechkin scored yesterday. And, he missed all of last year. He didn't even play against us. And listen, Kucherov, who cares? Could you imagine when Kucherov comes back?
Oh, yeah.
They're good.
They're always a team that's up against the cap, but they do definitely some good financial maneuvering there to put themselves underneath there to bring back really the nucleus of that team. Paul D is saying, does Butch put chlorine in his eyes before every broadcast?
No, I don't think so. I don't know, but seriously, I don't know. He just doesn't look right the last couple of games. Maybe
I really just hope it's seasonal allergies. I really do.
Me too. I don't wish
I will say,
health.
For everybody who thinks that maybe we're a little hard on AJ Malesko, we're hard on the entire staff.
We haven't seen AJ. I don't know if maybe they gave her a full-time gig on the other channel. I don't know. Or maybe they said, AJ, you won't use product. You're off the podcast. You're
off the broadcast.
Yeah,
close. It was close. Michael M saying, me and TJ always laugh on Twitter. There's so many fans who turn on Barzal but stay silent about Bailey and Beauvillier.
That's the way it is. That's the way it is, right?
I'll tell you specifically. I mean, the Bailey. I mean, you're either in one of the two camps, and you're vehemently opposing him, or you love him. There's no in between.
I'm a big Josh Bailey supporter.
Crump, tell me more.
I support him being on another team as soon as possible.
And David C saying the fire hydrant is dressed up too. Yes, it is. We got a little Islanders on the podcast there. Oh goodness. Jim P saying Butch is celebrating St. Patty's month.
Yeah. I tell you, I'm serious. The last couple of games, it doesn't. I don't know who. Maybe the makeup artist is making him try to look more tan, but it's not a good look. Whatever they're doing, it's not working.
Goodness. Yeah, and then Scott was saying, oh, wow, TJ, need another sticker on the fire hydrant. It's covered. Yes, I will take as many. We have plenty of room still left on the fire hydrant. So if anybody wants to give me a suggestion or submit a sticker, I will easily plop it here on this fire hydrant.
I want to know why don't you overlap some of the stickers? I mean, just have them like one on top of the other. Maybe put magnets, some type of magnets on there so you can move them around.
Well, they're stickers, so I couldn't really put magnets on them. This is more of a Paige thing. She would do much better arranging these type of items, but Paige was working, and I wanted to make sure I had it there for this pod. I mean, I ordered these stickers over a month ago, and they finally just got in. So I was like, nope, I've got to go ahead and put them on here.
Okay.
David C saying, love a fired up grump.
Can't help it sometimes. That you should see what I'm like live. You think now is bad.
Paul's saying, tell us how you really feel, grumpy old man.
Now, one thing about me, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're going to know exactly what I feel at all times. You're not going to hear me kissing somebody's butt just to kiss the butt. Not going to happen.
Scott Levy says, this is great entertainment. Oh, goodness.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
Michael is also saying here, worst ref game of the season. We got hooked and held, interfered with, and it was all Capitals.
And that's like, I'm serious. Barzal was being interfered the whole game. The whole game he was being hit, interfered with, cross-checked, breaking sticks on his back. No call, right in front of the referee, no calls. I'm like, what is going on? And then he retaliates, and then, you're going to the box. It's just frustrating. It's just frustrating.
I really wonder if the reason he gets some of those penalties are the way he carries himself and he looks when he does get penalized. He looks pissed as hell, and he's got that look of he's got like fire in his eyes when he gets those penalties. And I almost wonder if it builds him more of like to a villain. Like, oh yeah, he deserved that. He deserved that penalty.
How many minutes you think you get for sticking a referee? How many minutes you get? 2 minutes? It'd be worth it.
Well, you can ask Bobby Clark. What do you get? What do you get for almost smacking the hell out of that referee there with a stick?
No, first of all, it wasn't Bobby Clark. Okay, it wasn't Bobby Clark. It was J.P. Parise, I believe.
No, Bobby Clark went up to him and went like he was going to slash him there in the ankles.
No, he did slash a guy from Russia on the ankle.
Tretiak. He hit Tretiak in the back.
Okay. First, stop, because you don't know what you're talking about. All right, just embarrassing yourself. It was Karlamov who he slashed in the ankle, I believe. Right in the, and he broke his ankle. I mean, two-hander. Broke. I don't think he got a penalty for it at all.
Tretiak was the goalie, wasn't he?
Tretiak was the goalie.
Okay, yeah. It was whoever the hell the really good, I think it was a forward or something like that. I thought he almost hit the referee too. He went up to the referee like he was going to swing at him with his stick.
No, that was maybe it was Lou Nanny. I forget who the player was. It was not Bobby Clark though. And he did raise his stick at the referee. Hey, those are the good old days. Referees, you make a bad call, you're going to have to fear for your life. Now, hey, who cares?
I'm showing my age, my youth, Grump, during that time period.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. Barry pulls the goalie and Bailey jumps out. The goalie has a better chance to score. Vinny Smith.
Bailey won't shoot the puck. What does it matter? He's not going to shoot. How can you put you're down and you pull a goalie and you put a guy who will not shoot the puck on the ice? I don't understand. The young guys, I'm going to tell you what, Aho shoots the puck, Bello shoots the puck, Wallstrom shoots the puck. I don't know why we don't want to shoot the puck. Good things happen. Matt Martin, when he shoots the puck, he scores. I mean, why not send just frustrated. I don't know. Oh, did you hear that ping?
Yeah, well, I'm wondering if is that Lou Lamoriello texting you? I know you guys haven't heard much there in means of the landline. So I was just wondering if he's texting you these days.
No, actually not. That's my wife's phone, and she didn't put on mute again. She'll hear from me after this podcast.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Right out.
Alexander's saying these guys are awesome. Tommy's saying over the top.
That's an old Sylvester Stallone movie about arm wrestling. Over the top, where Sylvester Stallone finds a son who I guess he divorced a woman, and he's like, I think the kid was rich, and he takes him on a trip across the country in a 18-wheeler for an arm wrestling tournament. Over the top. Sylvester Stallone. That was after Rocky.
We got David C. saying, you guys are forgetting about the next shift after the penalty, terrible offensive zone turnover that led to a breakaway. Barry even mentioned that in the presser.
I did mention that earlier.
I think I'm slowly getting to it, but just if we didn't, we're re-mentioning that now.
That's fine.
Michael's saying, think Bailey will ever get called out for being a plush toy out there.
You know what that means, TJ?
Plush toys are
it means
like stuffed animals.
He's my name. Another nickname. He could be Charmin's. We can just call him Josh Charmin Bailey because he's soft as Charmin bathroom tissue.
Charmin soft. I've heard that plenty of times before. That is for certain here, Grumpy Old Man. Scott is saying it's comedy hour with TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. I'll tell you, Grump, when he gets on a roll like that, just can't help but shake your head and go, oh, we're in for it now.
Here's the thing. I'm going to hear from TJ after the podcast how bad I was and how miserable I was and how I was running over him. but he forgets he does the same thing to me on occasion. I just don't, whatever, hey, I'm just out here having fun. TJ obviously dresses some type of corporate shill over there, feels that it's necessary to put the grumpy old man down, try to shackle his thoughts and comments.
Shackle his creativity, right?
That's right.
Oh, goodness. Yes, he can do that, Paul D. That's why Trotz is a coach, and you're sitting on a leather couch.
Actually, I don't know who he's talking to. This is a leather couch. It's not pleather.
I think he meant leather.
No pleather is like that plastic leather. This is actual leather. Thank you.
Goodness.
That's right. Trotz is coach. He gets to do whatever he wants. It's his team out there. That's why we don't win.
Stop. We do win. Gotcha. Vinny Smith is saying Bailey gets the most shifts on offense every night.
Because we don't want to score goals. We want to keep it close.
Robert Conti saying, Gom, we can't handle the truth.
That's true. Anybody who disagrees with you cannot handle the truth. They got their heads. They got their little ostriches. Got their little heads in the sand.
As a fan, I think the most important thing as a fan, as a fanatic of anything you do, is to try to look at both sides. Grump, I can look at your side and I can see where you're coming from, and I try to look at Barry's side and I try to see where he's coming from.
Okay, you don't know what a fan is. A fan doesn't look at both sides. Let me weigh this. Let me weigh that. No, they're all for their team. I'm all for my team. When I see it not going good, I'm going to call them out on it. I'm not going to be Oh, well, hold on. Well, Barry, let me see. Well, I can see why maybe he should have put this guy on the bench, but not this one because, the stars, the way they were aligned, maybe Mayfield doesn't accept it like Barzy does. So let's do that. No, I'm sorry. And a real fan gets fanatic. That's how fans are. Fanatic. You're fanatic about your team. And I am fanatic about my team. And like I said, when they're winning, I'm able to say what they're doing good, but I'm not going to be a fence rider like you are. Oh, I don't want to upset anybody. Let me say what he takes a little bit of criticism from the little social media people over a post that he had the other day, and now he's doing the backstroke, trying to recover those people. I could care less about that.
Oh no, Grump! I have an uncanny ability to stir shit on social media, and it's all just by posing the question again. Because once I see a narrative that's continually perpetuated, where it's like everybody's agreeing with this, I think to myself, "Is that real?" And I try to play devil's advocate, and that's what I do. And I play devil's advocate on the internet, and people necessarily don't like it. That's where I come from. And the same thing is when you make your statements, I try to play devil's advocate the other way to try to point out maybe what the other person's thinking. That's all.
Have you ever converted me to your line of thinking? Ever?
It's not trying to convert you. It's trying to provide people the ability to think for themselves and to think, maybe if I was dogmatic in my thinking against or for the grumpy old man's point, now I can look at it another way. That's all it is, Grump. That's all it is. That's all we do. That's what I do here on the podcast. That's what I try to do at least.
It's called riding the fence. You're good at it. I'm going to give you your credit. You're good at it.
Oh, goodness.
I'm not a fence rider like you. I take a position, son.
Tommy B is saying, we lost the game on the road versus a really good team. In general, we played really well last night. For certain. Again, there's a reason why I'm not complaining at all about the loss. I really don't care that we lost. You don't want to lose games. But it's not about heartbroken over the way we lost. I'm not thinking, hey, we got robbed last night or anything like that. I thought we played a really good hockey game. And, it was a few unfortunate mistakes on our side there, penalties that, the Washington Capitals had to take advantage of. And Samsonov coming out and robbing us early in the first period because, we really could have been up maybe 1 or 2 goals. And the complexion of the game completely changes then.
Washington is a team that has more talent than we do. I think everyone can agree on that. And now they're well coached, and that makes them dangerous. And that's just the way it is. I thought we did play well last night, but to beat a team like Washington, you can't make any mistakes because they have the talent to make you pay every single time, and they did. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. I'm not upset that we lost. We played. That was the best overall game that we played against them this year, and hopefully we can win a couple games this season. I think we played all of our games in Washington against them this year. Has it been 3 games in Washington this year so far? TJ, do you know?
I really couldn't tell you. I think we're 3 games in. Again, don't quote me on it. I want to get to a few comments. David C saying, Grump have 1 shot of Jameson. It's St. Patty's Day, pal. I did not. I forgot it was St. Patrick's Day.
I mean, you're not paying attention early in the podcast. I went on the soliloquy about the quiet man, saying happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. John Wayne.
Grump, when you get going sometimes, I'm thinking what I need to go for next and how we need to steer everything. But no, I forgot it was St. Patrick's Day.
Ugh, okay.
Yeah. Tommy B is saying benching him is not about one game. Here's my thing. I think it's not about one game. I think Tommy's point is right. But the thing is, we've seen this on multiple occasions with him. So, I mean, like, what are you hoping to accomplish by continuing to bench him? Because it's not like this is the first time he's done it to Barzal. What do you hope to accomplish? And again, maybe it's the fact that Matt Barzal is a guy when he gets benched or feels like, he's like he can't contribute to the team's success, he comes back even more fired up because he does. So maybe that's what he's trying to elicit out of Matt Barzal too. Again, trying to look at it from all angles.
Okay, eventually, if that is the case, I don't think it is. Eventually, that well runs dry.
Yeah, for certain. Eventually, the well runs dry. But, you want to go ahead and tap it for everything, the well's gotten in it, right?
But do you want to potentially – to me, you have more of a potential of alienating a player.
You can sour the relationship. But right. I will say this much. Nobody has a sour relationship with Barry Trotz, at least that we've heard of.
Right. But I'm thinking long term. It's like, do you really want to – is it really worth it in the long run? I don't think it is. I mean, you don't have anybody on the team even close to the player that he is. No one. I mean, I just don't – you don't see other coaches alienating their best players. I mean, you just don't see it for the most part.
And to play, again, to look at it from all angles, if Matt Barzal was unhappy or wasn't happy that he gets benched like that or thinks he was treated unfairly, there's no way in hell anybody would ever know about it either. No player's dumb enough to talk to the press. Well, I won't say dumb enough. No player's as brazen enough to say that to the press like a Josh Hosang was, because you see what happens to a career like that. You can't speak exactly what you think. I mean, some sports you can, and it's no issue at all. Some sports you can't. Hockey is one of those sports where you can't. Soccer, overseas, you can say whatever the hell you want. Just be honest and truthful with it. I mean, it just rolls like water off a duck's back. Hockey is not one of those sports.
I much believe in the truthful approach, knowing what people feel. But you can shoot your way out of Dodge if you really wanted to. You see, I mean, Patrick Waugh did it in Montreal. I mean, you can do that. If you're that unhappy, you can definitely and you're seeing it more with today's athletes. You look at the NFL, guys wanting to get traded. They try to talk like, I want to trade. I won't play anymore. And that's the way it is like overseas, like in soccer, you're 100% correct. If they don't want to be there, they just get moved. They don't want them on the team. Now, I think Matt Barzal, here's the thing, everybody on this team truly likes one another.
They want to be here. I believe everybody on this team wants to be here too.
Well, I think it's a really close-knit group. It really is. I mean, that's why, considering the talent level they have, that's why they're as successful as they are, really. The sum is greater than the parts.
Mm-hmm. Got another comment here from Michael saying, TJ, this Islander fans polls and Anders Lee is just like Patrick Kane comment on Twitter. Oh, well, first off, I never said Anders Lee is just like Patrick Kane. You're mischaracterizing it, Grump. I will tell you that. He said Barzal is just as good as McDavid, just less IQ. Gave me a good laugh. Ugh.
No.
Yeah. No, sorry.
I love Matt Barzal. Certainly one of my top 2 or 3 Islanders currently on the team. I'm sorry, he's not Connor McDavid. He's about as close to Connor McDavid. Well, no, Anders Lee isn't even that close to Patrick Kane. Regardless of what TJ thinks.
He's saying maybe it's your burner, TJ. Get him, Grump. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness gracious. Tommy B is saying the rental makes sense due to the cap next year. And I was about to say, that's one of the only reasons maybe I'm suggesting a rental. I'm usually anti-rental all the way, unless your team is right on the cusp. But with the cap staying flat there and you having to re-sign back Pelech, Bavillier, and Sorokin.
Okay. I know we're getting this off-season topic. Do you want to run the same team back again for the 4th year in a row next year? Do you really want to do that?
Here's what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to move a player. Obviously, we're going to lose a player there to the expansion draft. I think next season.
It's not going to be. I'm telling you, it's going to be somebody that we don't want to lose because he's going to certainly protect certain guys. I know. Okay, go ahead, TJ. I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt. Go.
Oh, goodness. Don't feel self-conscious. I was fine with you taking it there. I make one compliment, you run it over, and now you're all self-conscious there, Grump.
No,
don't get your feelings on the ball. That being said, Um, I think we're going to see. I think Samuel Bolduc might be in the Islanders roster there next season. I really do believe it. I mean, he's performed well there in Bridgeport. They're high on him, and I think as I could see them maybe going ahead and giving him a chance, if not early on in the season, maybe towards the mid or the latter half of the year. I don't think he stays an entire full another year there in Bridgeport, even though again the games were limited this season. I think you're going to see if Bellows is still with the team by that point. I think you'll see Bellows more in the lineup if he continues to build off of this again. A really, really small sample size. But, I mean, guys like Oliver Wahlstrom are not going to be third-line players next year.
Okay. Who are you going to move down to the third line? Who are you? Like I say, when you sign a bunch of these sacred cows to long-term deals, they're going to be there at least another 4 years, every single one of them, on your top couple of lines. What are you going to do? How are you going to move guys up? Because the coach refuses to change up his lines. Just refuses.
People can already make a case for Oliver Wahlstrom being a top 6 guy now. I will tell you one thing. If he continues to play and progress and grow in the confidence that he is now through the rest of this year, there's no way in hell that young man should not be a top 6 forward next season.
Who do you move down? That's my point. When you have all these old guys, it's like this the pecking order they have.
Let me do this.
1, 2, Bailey. Why not? I mean, but here's the thing. Is Wahlstrom going to work with Nelson? Because here's the thing. What does he have in Pajot? Somebody will pass the puck to him. Nelson doesn't pass the puck. That's the struggles that we have on that line. No creator. Barzal
Nelson passes the puck.
No, he's more of a shooter. He's certainly more of a shooter.
He's more of a shooter, but he passes the puck. He's a pretty good puck passer, too. He's more of a shooter, though, if I had to classify him.
See, to me, I would much rather, because I know Lee's coming back. Here's the thing. I exposed Lee in the expansion draft. A guy coming off a serious knee injury, I'd certainly expose him. They won't. They'll protect him, but I would certainly expose him. And I protect all the young guys. I'd certainly protect Bellows. He's shown in these last few games that he can play in the NHL. And he brings something to the team that this team does not have. Somebody who drives the net. How many guys really drive the net on this team? He's the only one.
Lee drives the net. I will tell you one thing. When it comes to driving the net with a puck, I think Bellows already does that extremely well and proficient for such a young player at 22 years old. I will tell you the one thing. This next month is going to be hugely important for Kiefer Bellows and his future with the Islanders. The trade's not going to be made immediately to replace a top 6 forward there in the loss of Lee. But when he has this time period where he's getting those top 6 minutes, he has to continue to perform. He has to continue to show his worth. He has to make it to where the Islanders say, we cannot afford to give him away for nothing.
Well, yeah. I mean, but like I said, he makes nothing. I mean, I just wonder if you pick up a rental, okay, then what's going to happen with him? Are you going to put him back on the bench? Or, Michael Del Cole, is he going to play that spot? Is Leo Komarov going to play that spot? Is Jornak? Jornak, to me, no. I've seen enough of him in these 2 games. He played 1 game okay. Earlier is 1 game.
The first game he played, the first game he played the season, I thought he played pretty well. And since that, I've been like, I've been a little dissatisfied with what I've seen on the ice. What
does it say about our depth, though, right? You get 1 injury, and it's like, we don't know what to do. But here's the thing. To Barry's credit, he's given Bellows another chance. And the kid's certainly taken the ball, and he's showing that he is a top 6 forward. See, that's the issues that you have. You have guys who are real top 6 forwards, and there's nowhere for them to move because there's certain guys he likes in certain spots.
Well, you asked about, hey, what happens with Oliver Wahlstrom needs to be thrown up there in a top 6 role. I think Josh Bailey gets moved down, or I think they're going to expose a winger. I really do. Well, that's like, hey, we're going to expose a guy like Jordan Eberle. We're going to expose a guy like Josh Bailey. We're going to expose a guy. I don't think they're going to expose a guy like Anders Lee. I think they're going to expose possibly a top 6 wing, one of those top 6 wingers, even though it's a position of need for us. I think they would. They're definitely not going to expose any of their centers. There's no way that's going to happen. Okay. They're not exposing. Maybe I don't think they're going to expose any of their defensemen. Correction. I don't think. That's what I don't think they're going to expose any defenseman that a team wants to select. I mean, Scott Mayfield, as much as he's on a cap-friendly deal, I'm sorry. I mean, like he's He's so limited.
If you're if you're a team that's an expansion team, you're going to take either Nick Leddy or Scott Mayfield if they're exposed.
Well, that's my thing. So I mean, like, who do you protect?
I protect
Mayfield, Mayfield, Pulak, and you don't have to worry about protecting Dobson. So I mean, like, okay, you look at Mayfield's going to be the one exposed. Andy Green probably going to retire. What do you take, Sebastian Aho?
Well, does Sebastian Aho prove enough? Well, I don't think he's going to be playing long term, but does he show enough where, hey, maybe a team will take a shot on him? Here's as an expansion team, you don't want to pick a bunch of overpriced veterans. Okay, what you want to do is you want to select young guys, and then you fortify them with free agents coming in. You're going to have a boatload of cap space. You're going to have, especially with the cap being flat like this, you can make deals all day long with teams around the league who want to get rid of some guys to get some capital off their books. So I think when you draft somebody, you're going to draft cheap, and then you're going to either trade for more expensive pieces. That's what I think they're going to do. I don't think you're going to see them take a whole lot of salary besides the minimum that they have to take in the expansion draft. I mean, I just don't think you're going to see that. I mean, so I think if you see a Scott Mayfield available, $1.45 million for another 2-3 years, that's a steal.
Here's my question. I mean, like, I'll be honest with you. He's not the ideal guy to lose. He's easily replaceable. I'm just talking about cap hit wise. You'd rather, if you could, move one of those guys who have a higher cap hit. But moving right along here, Grumpy Old Man. Phil's Fax is saying they should trade for rental and weaponize cap space to facilitate a trade for a cap-strapped team. So he's more recommending, hey, try to get yourself a rental. If you have that available cash, then next season you can go ahead and take advantage of one of those cash-strapped teams.
Well, with the whole thing, when Lee comes back, that money's gone. So he's going to come back next year, so that he'll be back on the roster. So his $7 million goes right towards the cap.
Yeah, and again, like, that's what I said. But I will say, when you keep things, I think, unless you're planning on doing some real maneuvering, I think the easiest way to do it is to just look for a rental. It's going to be cheaper, and Lee comes back.
See, that's why people are saying Taylor Hall. Like, the money is pretty comparable, and that's why I'm saying him as a rental. Yeah, that's why I said Hall or Palmieri. Probably Palmieri.
Tommy B, no general at all. Caps and Samsonite had horseshoes. After the first period, 2-0 or 3-0, and the whole complexion of the game would have been different and changed. The Zebras were consistent as usual. Yeah, again, like, we don't really. I try not to complain about the refs. I don't think the refs cost us or anything like that. I thought it was a poorly officiated game. That being said, though, I mean, like, Samsonov kept them in. Alexander, I think we got our first Bailey Sucks comment in. That's always good. Hold on, I'm wrong. Okay, Phil Fax said 9 first-round picks in 2020 were traded for players. I thought it was 5. I was quickly glancing, so it wound up being more.
Okay.
I'm just saying, first-round picks get traded a little more often than you think. But I could see that number dropping a little bit right now, because you're right. Teams are teams are up against the cap. So, I mean, like, I think they're going to be more strategic moves this year. I don't think they're going to be like any huge fish. Like in the past, you're able to, like, okay, we'll offload this guy. We'll be able to do this. And, you can absorb $15 million cap space so we can bring this. I think it's going to be more strategy basis this year. I don't think we're going to see 9 first-round picks go. I might be completely wrong, though.
I will say, I don't think you're going to see any first and second and potentially a third or another first for a JG Pajot type trade this year. I just don't see that happening.
Bill Brady saying, TJ, you need a new partner. LOL. No, Grumpy Old Man and I stick it out.
Okay, Bill. I got your number, buddy.
And he says Wallstrom needs to boot Everly on the first line.
Nope, I don't think Everly was great last night, but he's not going to change the line. Everly plays well. Wallstrom plays well with Pajot. And I'd love to see him with Bellows out there, honestly. They gave him a 1-game trial, and then that was it. But, I mean, I would like to see them ride those guys as a third line whenever you do pick up your rental. I know they don't want to upset the lines too much.
Well, and that's the thing, right? I mean, like, you've got the continuity on the lines where, I mean, like, they're working A-okay and fine and everything like that. That being said, though, Grumpy Old Man, he's got the chemistry, just like you said. There's no need to move him off. I really don't think that's the case. I mean, this is Wallstrom being elevated to a top 6 role. I think better suits the team success and his success if he can do it in the offseason. His chemistry is unbelievable with Jean-Gabriel Pageau. And, if they don't have a passenger as their third guy, you know what I mean? I think the sky's the limit for that particular line. I've said it before. I think that third line is as good as some second lines in the NHL when all is healthy.
Think about it. You got a true sniper in Wallstrom. You got to do everything center in Pageau, and you got a guy who drives the net in Bellows.
And who earns. I mean, even when Bellows is not there, you have a guy who earns and fights for the puck along the boards to help facilitate that offensive zone pressure. And Del Cole or Bellows.
Yeah,
both of them serve that role.
Yeah, but Del Cole can't score. He has no offensive ability at all, where Bellows does. So with him driving that, he goes into the corners, but he drives the net with the puck. That's no one else on our team does that. Nobody drives the net with the puck on our team.
Gotcha, you're grumpy old man.
No.
I was about to say, that's one of those names with Milan Lucic you don't really hear much about anymore.
He's finished. He can't skate. Actually, he could take Anders Lee's spot. If he can't skate and he stands in front of the net, he's a better fighter too. But his hands aren't as good unless for fighting, of course. No, but no for Lucic, no.
Here's one of those things. How quickly did Milan Lucic fall off the planet the Earth?
Well, I'm going to tell you what, though. If Milan Lucic played on the first line, you wouldn't see anybody messing with Matt Barzal. That much I will say. That no one would mess with him.
I'm shocked that he fell off the face of the earth and the planet so quickly. I mean, back when he was playing for Boston, I mean, he was heralded as one of the top power forwards in the league.
Yeah, but think about how many good players they had around him and the system that they played. I mean, it was perfect for him. They don't play the same system. They certainly didn't in Edmonton. I think he's with Calgary now, isn't he?
He's with Calgary now, yeah.
Yeah, and they are more running gun team. So he doesn't fit there. I don't think he's got much left. I mean, was never a great skater. And even less so now.
We got a few here comments. Robert saying Scott Gray call was certainly wouldn't cost as much. Tommy's like Lucic sucks and is a cancer. I will tell you.
I don't know what he's like in the room, but I just think he's past his prime as player.
Neither do I. And again, man, oh man, Milan Lucic just fell off the planet Earth. I think. Brandon Carlo got hurt there. Did Brandon Carlo get hurt again?
I guess so. Maybe he just came back from that hit from Wilson, and now he's hurt again.
Oh,
they're. I mean, I think they won. I don't know if they won last night or not, but they're a team that's in trouble right now for certain. And here's the thing: it's our advantage. We need to take advantage of them when they're out there. I don't know what TJ's laughing about. I'm going to say
I'm laughing about a comment I just read. Jerry freaking Springer, this son of a bitch. He is always bringing the comments that are hard hitting, no matter what. And the thing is, holy. It's just like Springer, the TV show there, Grump. He says, can't tune in. We'll watch later, but love you and the grumpy old man. You were the grumpy old man. Oh, sorry. Love you, grumpy old man.
He doesn't care anything about you. He cares about me, the grumpy old man.
I'm going to let you do this. We'll let you read this because you like to add a little inflection. I read them the same exact way as I read every comic. We'll let you read it, and you can inflect how you think the person said it. Go ahead.
Can't turn in. We'll watch later. But I love you, grumpy old man. You are the true MVP, not that ham-handed fool, TJ.
That's true. I'm not going to answer this question, but I'll show it here up on the screen. Question proposed to you guys. Would you smash or pass on Shannon Hogue? Oh, for reals, I want an answer. Oh, God almighty.
I don't know which is the good swipe.
I'll do thumbs up there. Why not? Anyway, we got a comment here from Robert saying Johnny Rockets would know that. It all depends if you want all your eggs in one basket. Either get a few players or go for the gusto. If Hall is the guy, then it's fine with me.
I'm going to tell you what. If you're going for a rental, I don't know how much he cost. But, boy, Johnny Gaudreau would be a nice fit. He would be a nice fit. Now, that's something I could certainly – if you're just going for a rental, I could definitely go for that.
If he would play play defense, you want to talk about a guy who has a style, who skates similarly to Matt Barzal, and I'll talk about frame-wise. and has a
I
sort of
love them.
similar style. Johnny Gaudreau. Ooh. You talk
I
about the offensive production this team could produce. I mean, again, I don't think he offers much on the defensive side of the puck, but
I don't think he's a liability defensively, but I'd do that in a second. Oh, go ahead, DJ. Drink out of the fire hydrant. Can you get that thing tipped all the way up? Don't
I
choke on it.
can. That's how I get my curls in every day.
Oh boy.
Robert's saying we should try to go get Forsberg. I think the price is going to be astronomical on Forsberg. If you go all in, you would. That's one of those where if you go after Forsberg, he has term, right? Grumpy at least has 1 year after this, right?
I think he's got 2 years after this. I mean, he's a guy. He was my number one guy, right? Because I'm not. I mean, if you're going for a rental, Gaudreau's a guy for certain. But if you're looking to improve the team, I think Forsberg is perfect for us.
Have they been shopping around Johnny Gaudreau, and I'm unaware of it?
I think he's on the block because he's an unrestricted free agent after this year, and all the signs are saying he's going to Filthy Delphia to be with those slimy dirtbag Flyers.
Wow. Yeah, so Philip Forsberg has 1 year left after this one. Warzone player here from YouTube comment. He says, I want Taylor Hall. Why not? A second-round pick and make a cup. Well, he's going to cost a lot more than the second-round pick. The Islanders have the tools to win it all.
Well, he hasn't put up any points this year. So I don't know how much for a rental who's got 2 goals the whole year, how much you think you're going to get for him?
Here's my thing. I think people the NHL is one of those I'm not going to call it a good old boys club, but it's one of those clubs and it's one of those organizations where a lot on prior performances determines what you get traded for and what the value you have. Even though Taylor Hall's had by his standards, a pretty bad year, the entire Buffalo Sabres team has been hideous. So it hasn't been like it's just him. If it was just him on the Buffalo Sabres, I understand him getting dropped there a little bit in value. But I mean, the entire team has struggled, and they just canned the coach. So maybe teams are willing to say it's coach, it's Ralph. That's the reason why.
Okay, he had no market in free agency this year. One team, nobody wanted him. Only gave him a 1 year deal. I don't know where his value is right now. I don't think you're going to have to give up a whole lot to get him.
Jim P saying, I'd trade Hall for a second Leo and Hickey.
Who wouldn't?
I was about to say, if that's what they offered, I'd be like, yes, please. Immediately take that. Don't even bother. Just go ahead and get it printed off so we can sign it. We'll chit chat later.
Throw Bailey in there too.
Oh, David C saying, yes, Grump, I'm basically bold with
That's
the
all right. That's all right. That's okay. Doesn't matter. So am I. Look.
Oh, gosh. Brian B saying, sorry I'm late. What did I miss? Let me guess. Lou got us the top 6. Oh, wait. What a joke.
I like Brian. Man, Brian's all right. He's the man. I'm telling you.
Dave P saying, can't remember the Russian guy's name that's coming from the Islanders. Do you guys think he goes to Bridgeport? His name is Anatoly Golishev. That's right. We totally forgot to mention it. He was released there from his KHL contract. Again, like we've talked about Anatoly Golishev for a while. I mean, I remember the original rumor from like a Russian verified Twitter account was that he was going to come to the Islanders. I think it was 2 years ago, but he was like, I want to stay here and raise my family. And I remember we were talking about that on the podcast now a year or two ago, Grump.
Hold on. Are there actually Russian verified Twitter accounts? Like they're verified? I mean, I don't know what comes out of communist Russia.
No. He's a Russian. He writes like for the KHL and he covers it. He's one of those he's one of the members of the media there. And he tweeted that he was looking to leave and he had to come out. Golishev was like, no, I'm not looking to leave yet. We just had a kid. We're looking to raise him. Something like that along those lines. But I mean, all signs point to that Golishev is going to come there to the Islanders organization. So that's always good to see. Again, he's a winger that not huge in stature, but has put up points. He was the leading scorer for whatever franchise. I cannot pronounce the franchise he played for in the KHL, but he was a leading scorer there for that franchise. So again, he's a guy who has been successful there in the K. So it'll be interesting to see how he acclimates there to a smaller ice surface.
Yeah, I think they say that he's going to sign in the NHL. I'd love to see him at Bridgeport. Why not? Why not?
LP is saying, I would take Hall as a rental, but I don't want Bellows going to Buffalo as part of the deal. As far as I'm concerned, Bellows and Wahlstrom and Dobson are as untouchable as Barzal.
Yeah, I don't want Bellows going either. He showed he can play in this league. He's on his entry league contract. Those are the guys. that's the thing that frustrates me so much with this team. We continue to re-sign veterans who are just they're jags for the most part, and we don't benefit from playing our younger players who are on really cap.
They're really uncap friendly deals.
Right. Those are the guys you want to break them in. You don't want to have them sit them on the bench for years and years until you have to pay. Oh, now they're good players. Now we have to pay them right away. You're getting no benefit from the savings that you could by playing them earlier and letting them develop. I mean, it's so dumb. It's so 1980s. It's so Lou Lamoriello. It's just frustrating. These are different times with the salary cap. You have to use your entry-level contracts as soon as you can so you can spend money on other players. You don't overpay for overpriced JAG veterans.
Here's my question. Realistically, let's say if it's like, hey, Kiefer and somebody else for Hall. Would you be in on that?
No.
Again, this is all assuming that Hall's willing to play defense. He obviously does have the chemistry there with Eberle from the past. But if he's willing to play defense, again, some people are so anti-Hall. He hasn't performed very well. You have to assume maybe the price will be a little cheaper on him, but he's a name that's being thrown out there left and right.
Okay. If you're planning on keeping him past this year, I'd consider it. But if you're not, for just a rental, absolutely not. Bellows is one of the guys for the future. You don't trade away your futures, Devon Taves, to keep guys who are old and washed up. Nick Leddy, Komarov, all these other guys they could have dumped to save themselves some money. Instead, they give up a top 4 defenseman who made Mayfield better than he really is, right? But that's the guy we give away. Okay, those are mistakes. When you sign Lee, Nelson, Eberle, you're forced into make mistakes by dealing away younger players because you feel comfortable with the veterans. If you want the team to be a success long term, you have to incorporate youth earlier. Devon Taves should have been an absolute no-brainer keep for us, and we let him go for 2 second-round picks. What do you do? And where Colorado's going to be picking, they're probably basically third-round picks.
I've got a comment here from Scott saying it's called depth, Grumpy. The teams you're mentioning, the Islanders or have depth, Islanders don't. The teams you're mentioning have depth, the Islanders don't.
Absolutely, spot on.
Jim P saying get Bailey off of the power play.
How does this freaking guy get over 20 minutes a night? I don't understand it.
Bailey gets over 20 minutes a night?
I mean, look at how many minutes he plays.
I don't think it's 20 minutes.
19 minutes? I mean, here's the thing. If he's playing more than 5, it's too much. I mean, he shouldn't even like I said, he should be the guy who stacks the pucks before they warm up for the game. That's the extent of him being on the ice should be.
Josh Bailey averages 17 minutes and 54 seconds a night. So roughly about 18 minutes a night.
That's too much. That's too much for him. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you one thing. He plays first-line minutes. Frank K is saying, I was told Kucherov will be back for the playoffs.
I think, but then you're going to have that salary cap issue with him. He's on long-term injury. That saved them going into the season, putting him on long-term injury.
From having to make any ridiculous and ludicrous saves. David says, hey, Grump, TJ and Grump. And then Brian P saying, trucking through Minnesota, just arriving. What's up, fellas? Hey, how are you guys doing? Oh, goodness. Grump, who would you like us to get with the $3.7 million in cap space? Grumpy, who would you want as an ideal scenario? I know there's a lot of names being thrown out there. Your ideal guy. I know you're looking for a guy with term.
Forsberg. If I was looking for anybody, it'd be Forsberg. The guys who I think are available is Forsberg. I'd like Connor McDavid, him. I'd like him, but no. Forsberg is supposedly going to do a fire sale in Nashville. That's the type of guy I'd want. I'd want somebody who I could bring in there long term. I think he's a perfect fit for us. I really do.
Okay, we got one here saying Sal P is saying, I would buy a Seattle Kraken number 12 Bailey jersey next year for Grumpy to wear on the podcast. Wouldn't that be awesome?
I would wear that probably every single podcast.
And you wouldn't fail to mention it that he is your favorite Seattle Kraken member.
He would be my favorite Seattle Kraken member for certain. I'd speak so highly of him because,
he's no longer on the team.
Hockey has been part of the Kraken legacy forever out here in Seattle, and Josh Bailey would just fit in perfectly.
Brian P said, did I miss a good rant? Well, you definitely missed a rant. That's for damn certain.
Absolutely, you missed a good one. a couple of good ones.
And a classic Grumpy. Oh, goodness. David C. says Bailey has to have naked pictures of Barry Trotz.
Who would even want those though? How could you even? I mean, I don't. I'd say that a lot.
Could you imagine Barry Trotz naked?
Yeah, but I don't think those
he's short in stature too, and just like he's so wide. He's built like a little. Oh god,
I saw Barry in a movie last week.
What movie did you see him in?
It was Tin Cup. He was walking across a highway. Like an armadillo, a little tail coming out the back, a little shell over the top.
I thought you were about to say you saw him in a movie. You're going to say The Incredibles, Mole Man at the very end.
No, he's an armadillo, more like an armadillo. He could be a mole too, but I'm going to say an armadillo.
Fair enough here. Brian B says, I like it that you guys are honest. I've seen other shows where they're like pom-pom hour. Yeah, again, like.
What's the sense? What is the sense of just, hey, everything's great, guys. Hey, Johnny, how's our team doing? It's doing great. Can we do anything better? It doesn't matter. We're the Islanders. We're great. We're here to win Stanley Cups, people. We're here to win. And here, they're great guys from everything. Not a bad person in the bunch. And that's great as human beings. But sometimes you need some assholes on your team to be truly a great team, if you know what I mean. Just certain type of personalities. And I don't think we have any of those. We have a bunch of great guys on our team. We do.
Brian P says, my problem is he doesn't bench anyone else except talented forwards. Brian, I'll tell you, I know you're a little late. Grumpy definitely made sure to hit on this ad nauseum here earlier on today.
I hit it with the sledge.
Oh, goodness. And he says, we need more personalities and smaller goalie equipment for more goals. Attracts younger fans, especially on ESPN.
I'm going to wonder if they're going to try to go to smaller goal. I know they did it in the past. They shrunk some of the equipment, but I think he's 100% right. People want to see scoring. And with the implementation of the butterfly style, scoring's been down for a number of years. You still have some great teams that can score, but I think we need more. I mean, especially come playoff time.
George Pace is saying, what GM is taking Bailey? Cirelli is long gone.
I don't know. I don't even think that he could have starred in The Wonderful Life as one of the brothers or something. That's what he plays. He plays like George Bailey. Oh no, he plays like the kid who fell through the ice. That's what he played like. Harry Bailey. He's like Harry Bailey, fell through the freaking ice because he couldn't skate.
George Pace is saying expansion team isn't taking the Islanders Kool-Aid. Hall of Famer Josh Bailey? Question marks.
You know another thing, because I never want to see Bailey's number up there in the rafters, and they say, could you imagine the Bailey retirement ceremony? I mean, first of all, no one would go.
Oh no, come on now. Okay, some people love Josh Bailey now.
Yeah, his wife doesn't count, and his kids and his mother and father, they don't count. I'm talking about fans. I mean, what are they going to say? Josh Bailey, what did you do in your career? Can you show us some of the highlights? I played 879 games for the Islanders. Anything else? Crickets.
He did have that unbelievable goal. I think it was like 2 years ago where he put it in between his legs and it looked like he was playing pond hockey. That was definitely the highlight of his career.
That gets your name in the rafters nowadays?
You said, what does he remember? I would remember that there. And I
don't even remember that.
David C. says, Grump, do you consider AJ's hair a rental or a keeper?
Unfortunately, that's a keeper for her.
Well, no, for you too. I mean, it's easy ammo for you on the podcast. It's a keeper. You want to keep it, not a rental.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed she hasn't been on the podcast because I can't talk about if she's not on the broadcast. I really, in all good conscience, cannot talk about her hair.
I thought you just said she's not on the podcast. I was like, Grump, it would be really tough. It would be really tough and a hard sell for me to get AJ on this podcast.
Are you kidding me? She would love me. I'd love to get her on the podcast. We would have to, by the end of the day, I'd have her eating out of the palm of my hand.
Would you bring up a few pictures? Be like, what's going on here? And you got like a little circle, like
Absolutely.
a little color picture.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have
what's going on here, AJ?
I'm like, AJ, it's been brought to my attention. Now your hair is like all over the freaking place. But I
not brought to your attention. You've been leading the charge on this. I don't think it was brought to your attention, Grump. I think you were the first to notice it.
What can I tell you? I'm a trendsetter. But here's the thing: look at your hair looks so good on NBC Sports. Who does your hair for the Islander podcast? Is it Shannon?
Broadcast, Grump.
Whatever. I don't care. When you're on TV, is it Shannon? Is maybe she trying to sabotage your career by messing up your hair before you go out there? I just want to know, what are the facts?
Okay. Gotcha. John Whitty says, rental, yes. Hall, absolutely no. Eichel.
We'd have to give up way too much for Eichel.
Yeah, Jack Eichel's going to get.
Now that's a guy a young guy on a fairly manageable deal for a while.
How many first-round picks do you think it would cost to get a guy like Jack Eichel? People are throwing out the Rangers because, hey, they've got all these young guys who were drafted their early picks. Maybe they haven't necessarily lived up to expectations of the Rangers so far, and they've got draft capital.
I'd say probably 2 and a high-end player.
Gotcha.
Remember, he signed for a while.
Says Barzal needs to stop with the penalties. Dumb. We cannot afford him to see long periods in a box.
I'm going to take this one. Hey, John, let me tell you something. In the last 20 games, he spent 8 minutes in the box. The moron, Barry, benched him for 8 minutes in the third period. What is more detrimental to our team? Is it taking a 2-minute penalty every 5 games? Or is it being benched for 8 straight minutes in the third period?
To teach him a point. So again, you can't break it down like that. Again, it was obviously meant to show him a point. Moving right along, Brian J. How about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins? Wiki face. Hey, the Rags are up 2-0. College Quinn maybe pulling a Ronnie Dangerfield of back to school.
Well, I'm telling you, what did I tell you today? Didn't I tell you this is the worst thing that could have happened to Joe College, because now the Hartford coaches are going to come in there and now his job is in jeopardy because he's such a bad coach, Johnny Rah-Rah, that you knew. I mean, I just remember the Triple Lindy from Back to School. I mean, that was a great movie, man. Rodney Dangerfield was absolutely the best. Mm-hmm. He was married to Adrienne Barbeau at the beginning of that movie. She was a hottie back in the 1970s. She was on the show Maude, and her biggest attributes were right out front.
I can only imagine there. Brian P. is saying perfect third line left wing is Anasayu. I think I got that right this time.
Yeah, but I don't think they're looking for a third line guy. Now they're looking.
I was about to say, yeah, with Lee out there. Brian says smash. George says pass. Oh, goodness. Sal says Dale Cole was a big scorer. Was actually a big scorer in juniors. Somehow his game didn't translate well to the pros. Another example of our first-round bust. Is it more of the crappy prospect development, or was it more of a crappy prospect development at Bridgeport?
He was a bust.
He was just a bust. Yeah.
He did score in juniors. He did score in juniors, but, he was a big kid. He just is what he is. I mean,
Jesus, I'm not, Brian, I'm not.
Don't mumble and bumble. Just put it up.
No. We're not going to answer this question.
Oh.
We're not that type of podcast. We only just did one because he's like, we need an answer there. No. Chug, TJ. Yep. Goudreau is an offensive dynamo, but I don't think his 200-foot game is where Trotz would like it to be. That's about to say. I mean, you talk about the offensive production would be unreal there with a guy like Matt Barzal. Could you imagine Johnny Gaudreau, Matt Barzal, and Oliver Wahlstrom on a line, or even Jordan Eberle? Ooh, yeah. You talk about offensive production.
You know what? At some point in time, we're going to have to score some goals.
Yep, and Gaudreau there is from New Jersey. The Rags are up 3-0.
Who are they playing?
4-0. The Rangers are up.
Jeez. Keep on reading those posts. It might be 15-0 before the end of the game.
Oh, goodness. And John's saying there, Raquel. Oh, goodness. There we go. I mean, Ricard Raquel, he's on that manageable deal there, and he's got one more year still left of term. So I wouldn't be opposed, but I just think he'd cost at least a first-round pick.
I mean, and that's a guy that, you could put on the third line next year. But like I said, we have the problem is we have so many guys on long-term deals. Unless you move some of them out, it's like, where are you going to play? I mean, that's the frustrating part. That's why you don't sign everybody long-term.
And Brian P. says Bailey plays double what Wally plays. That's pathetic.
And he produces how many goals does Wahlstrom have? 5 or 6?
Wahlstrom has, I don't know, 4 or 5 goals there. Bailey's got 3 goals on a season.
He's got more than 4. He's either got 5 or 6.
Maybe he's got 5 or 6. I don't know off the top of my head.
I know Bailey doesn't have that many in the list 15 years put together. Bailey sucks. I mean, that's about as nice as I could put it, honestly.
Yeah, Grump, you keep pushing that. The Bailey sucks there. It's same old, same song. Never. It's got 6 goals.
Truth. It's the truth. He's hard to watch.
Uh, Automobilist is the name
Oh,
of the Russian team. I was about to say, I always butcher that name. Sal's also saying king of the secondary assist. Brian B saying Islanders never get a top free agent. Why? Oh, that's a lot. It's a lot of reasons.
they always make excuses.
The Rangers are winning 6-0 through the second period.
I'm telling you, Johnny Rara, they got talent on the team. Johnny Rara, he better get his ass healthy fast. You know what? He's gonna go down as a COVID casualty.
He's gonna be the Wally freaking Pip of the coaching world. He's gonna be the Wally Pip of the coaching world. Is what's gonna happen.
I just don't. I mean, like I said, I don't know how many college coaches were successful in the NHL. Herb Brooks is one, but I mean, other than that, Johnny Rara, come on.
Why the Islanders never get a top free agent, Grump?
Well, they always make excuses why. Well, it's the arena, it's this, it's that. They don't want to go there probably because, well, okay, I can't say they didn't offer Panarin enough money, but if the Rangers offer some, people they want to play in the big city. They don't want to play in the Islanders, and the Islanders let themselves get portrayed as country freaking bumpkins. And what? How many miles from Madison Square Garden? What, 15, 20 miles? You know, oh, we're a small market team. No, you're not. You're in freaking New York. You're not a small market team. You're crazy. I mean, I hate when they just let that myth get perpetrated.
Same thing with the freaking Mets. They used to say that shit all the time before. Thank God management or ownership changed there, and they kind of changed the tune. But the Mets used to say that same stuff all the time. Oh, a small market team. Come on, you're freaking in New York.
6 miles away. You're in the same. You're in New York City, people. And what are you going to say when they're in Queens? I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing: they don't sign up. People just don't want to sign there, probably because they've been a loser franchise forever. Who wants to sign for a loser? You really have to overpay for guys when a team's a loser.
Gotcha. Brian P is saying there the new arena will definitely help. I do agree with that. I think the new arena will help. Having something state of the art where you could say our arena is the best in the league. I think that does help a little bit of a selling point. It's not all, but it helps a little bit. Got a comment here from David C saying, Grump, have Clutter and the $6 million man been in a cocoon like the Quaker Oats guy and his buddy?
I think maybe they were left in the water a little bit too long. And that was in the movie Cocoon. We had guys like Wilford Brimley and Don Amici and Jack Gilford. These astronauts came, not astronauts, some type of space creatures came down. Steve Guttenberg was in there, and they put these pods in the water, and the people went into the water, and they got rejuvenated, and they were out dancing. It was actually a good movie. It was one of Ron Howard's first better directorial debuts, certainly at early in his career, one of his good directorial jobs. It was a very popular movie back in the day.
Got a few more here. Grump, when you speak like that, man, I am not a movie whiz, and you know that. Brian John saying Mark Streit was the last big free agent Islander signed.
What does it tell you?
And Frank K saying Stars don't want to play in a suburban area. And Brian P is also saying, and a slightly more offensive style would also help.
True. Can you name anybody who's a big goal scorer want to come play for us on a free agent deal? You're just going to make them play defense?
Unless you're going to pay them hand over fist more than the next guy, not sure.
I mean, right. Unless
we're not a team that can catch a discount from somebody like Jonathan or like other players have caught discount. Like, you know what I mean? For the most part, I mean, like other players do catch or other teams do catch discounts there from these top rated players.
Yeah. I mean, people, unless you're a defense, I mean, honestly, no one considers the Islanders a destination. I feel bad. I mean,
I think maybe we might be able to work into that though. I really do. I think I think the excitement behind the Islanders will continue to build.
I don't. Our style doesn't generate any excitement. I mean, can you say that we're an exciting team to watch? Or hey, look at the run and gun style of the Islanders. What's our run and gun style? Clearing the zone.
As of recent, we have been more exciting to watch. And I think with the guys like Wahlstrom continuing to step up and those young guys who do have more offensive acumen there, I think with them stepping up and the filling, top six roles, I think we will be more exciting to watch. Grump, we are right here at the end, right around 2 hours. Is there anything you want to throw in before we wrap up this podcast?
Yeah, I just want to say, benching your best offensive player is certainly going to get free agents really wanting to come there too. The only guy who can really play real offense on your team. Let's bench him because he doesn't play enough defense or makes a mistake. Yeah, that's the place I want to go.
Well, thank you so much.
How many free agents do you see running to go to Columbus, playing for John Tortorelli, who benches guys at the drop of a hat? How many guys you see running to? Oh, Columbus, there's a destination.
John Tortorella is not a fan. He's not a player's coach. So I mean, like I think like Barry, even though he does bench players, the players have an utmost respect for him. John Tortorella is like, yeah, hey man, he's volatile and he wears out his welcome quick.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, do you see anybody rushing to Columbus to go play for a guy who benches top players like he does? Players, if you're a free agent, why would you want to get? I don't know. I just don't think players go. First of all, players go for the money first and foremost. You got to.
Certainly do.
We got a visitor.
Yes, we do, Grumpy old man. We are wrapping things up here, Grump. I do want to say thank you, Grumpy old man. I also want to say thank you for everybody who participated in the live stream and listened to the podcast. We love it. The fact that people listen to myself and the Grumpy old man talk about the sport and the team that we absolutely love and adore for certain there, Grumpy old man. Grumpy, very critical sometimes, but he loves the Islanders. Don't ever confuse it there. Thank you, Grumpy old man, and thank you, everybody who participated in the live stream there. Remember, if you can't watch us, it's always good to, or watch us live, watch on YouTube afterwards. And if you want to submit questions, this was actually submitted by somebody, he messaged us on Twitter. If you want to submit questions for an upcoming podcast, like the upcoming Saturday podcast, make sure you go ahead and either tweet, direct message me on Facebook, leave it in the comment sections below. I will make sure to bring it up on the next podcast in case you cannot make it and you want to leave a question there for myself or the Grumpy old man.
And are we doing a live podcast after the Philadelphia Flyer game?
Yes, we are. On Saturday.
I hate them. I really hope we beat them because I don't know what I'm going to be like if we lose 2 games to them.
Oh, goodness gracious, Grumpy man. Well, thank you so much, Grumpy, for being a part of the podcast today.